Welcome to the last session of risk management. In this session, we are mainly dealing with risk planning and risk control. Risk planning and control, and also evaluating risk to the schedule. These major two topics we are going to discuss in this session: risk planning and control, as well as evaluating risk to the schedule. Having identified the major risk and allocated priorities to the risk, the task is to decide how to deal with the risk. We have to control the risk. The first step in risk planning and control, it is risk acceptance. Risk acceptance means it is the do nothing option. Do nothing option. In the risk prioritization process, we have decided to ignore some risk in order to concentrate on the more likely or more damaging risk. We could decide that the damage inflicted by some risk would be less than the cost of actions that might reduce the probability of the risk happening. The second step is the risk avoidance. Risk avoidance. Some activities may be so prone to accident that it is best to avoid them altogether. If you are worried about sharks, then don't go into the water. For example, given all the problems with developing software solutions from scratch, managers might decide to retain existing clerical methods or to buy an off-the-shelf solution. The third step can be considered as risk reduction and mitigation. Risk reduction and mitigation. Here we decide to go ahead with a course of action despite the risk. Take precautions that reduce the probability of the risk. Several strategies can be used for risk reduction. Hazard prevention is one type of strategy for risk reduction. Some hazards can be prevented from occurring on their likelihood, reduced to least significant levels. The risk of key staff being unavailable for meetings can be minimized by early scheduling. It is an example of hazard prevention. Likelihood reduction can be used for risk reduction. Likelihood reduction is a common strategy. Some risks cannot be prevented, but we can reduce the likelihood by prior planning. Proper planning can be used to reduce the risk. The risk of late changes to the requirement specification is an example. It can be reduced by prototyping. Prototyping will not eliminate the risk of late changes and will need to be supplemented by any action plans. So likelihood reduction, hazard prevention strategies can be used to risk reduction. The second part is the mitigation, risk mitigation. Mitigation can sometimes be distinguished from risk reduction. When risk reduction attempts to reduce the likelihood of the risk occurring, risk mitigation is an action taken to ensure that the impact of the risk is reduced when it occurs. The impact is lessened. The impact of the risk is lessened when it occurs. For example, taking regular backups of data storage. It will reduce the impact of data corruption, but not its likelihood. It can reduce the impact of data loss. Mitigation is closely associated with contingency action plans. Mitigation is also closely associated with contingency planning. Richard Fairley's for commercial off-the-shelf (COTS) software acquisition risk is presented here. The four COTS commercial off-the-shelf software acquisition risk. Fairley presented a risk management for software projects in 1994 in an IEEE conference. The four terms are integration, upgrading, no source code, and fourth one supplier failures or buyouts. First one is integration. Integration means difficulties in integrating the data formats and communication protocols of different applications. Upgrading means when a supplier upgrades the package might no longer meet the user's precise requirements. Sticking with the old version could mean that losing the supplier's support for the package. Third one is no source code. If you want to enhance the system, modify the system, you might not be able to do so as you do not have access to the source code. So, if you want to enhance the system, you must have the access or the privilege to access the source code. And the fourth one is supplier failure or buyout. The supplier of the application might go out of business or be bought out by a rival supplier. Then there are four different terms. They are known as Fairley's four commercial off-the-shelf software acquisition risk. We have to reduce these risks also in our software project. The next stage in risk planning and control is risk transfer. Risk transfer. The impact of some risk can be transferred away from the project. Transferred away from the project means that the risk is transferred to another person or another organization. For example, with software projects, this would be where a software development task is outsourced to an outside agency for a fixed fee. You might expect the supplier to quote a higher figure to cover the risk that the project takes longer than the average expected time. On the other hand, a well-established external organization might have productivity advantages as its developers are experienced in the type of development to be carried out. The need to compete with other software development specialists would also tend to drive prices down. Risk transfer is effectively happened when you buy an insurance, contracting out, taking out for insurance, then it will be effectively happen in risk planning and risk control. The last stage in risk planning and control is contingency planning. Contingency action plans. Some risks are not preventable. Therefore, contingency plans will need to be drawn up to reduce the impact should the hazard occur. A project manager should draw up contingency plans for using agency programmers to minimize the impact of any unplanned absence of programming staff. Risk reduction activities would appear to have only a small impact on reducing the probability of some risk. For example, the staff absence through illness. While some employers encourage their employees to adopt a healthy lifestyle, it remains likely that some project team members will at some point be brought down by minor illness or any kind of diseases. These kinds of risk need a contingency plan. This is a planned action to be carried out if the particular risk occurs or materializes. If a team member involved in urgent work were ill, then the project manager might draft in another member of staff to cover that work. Deciding on the risk actions. Whatever the countermeasures that are considered, they must be cost effective. The actions must be cost effective. On those occasions where a risk exposure value can be calculated as a financial value, the financial value must be cost effective, it must be minimum. Creating and maintaining risk register. When the project planners have picked out and examined what appear to be the most threatening risk to the project, they need to record their findings in a register. That register is known as risk register. After work starts on the project, more risk will emerge and be added to the register. At regular intervals, probably as part of the project control life cycle, the risk register should be reviewed and amended. Many risks threaten just one or two activities, and when the project staff have completed these, the risk can then be closed and no longer relevant. In any case, the probability and impact of a risk are likely to change during the entire course of the project. Evaluating risk to the schedule. Evaluating risk to the schedule. If a task in a project takes longer than planned, we might hope that some other task might take less and thus compensate for this delay. In this section, we will examine how to evaluate risk to the schedule. We have seen that not all risks can be eliminated. Even those that are classified as avoidable or manageable can, in the event, still cause problems affecting activity durations. By identifying and categorizing those risks, their likely effects on the duration of planned activities, we can assess what impact they are likely to have on our activity plan. Here we will examine a technique which takes account of the uncertainties in the durations of activities within a project. That is program evaluation and review technique. Program evaluation and review technique. PERT is a technique used to find out the uncertainties in the duration of activities within a project. Applying the PERT technique. Using PERT to evaluate the effects of uncertainty. PERT was developed to take account of the uncertainty surrounding estimates of task durations. It was developed in an environment of expensive, high risk and state-of-the-art projects, not that dissimilar to many of today's large software projects. The method is very similar to critical path method technique, but instead of using a single estimate for the duration of each task, PERT requires 3 estimates. In critical path method CPM, only one estimation or a single estimate for the duration is prepared. Here in case of PERT, program evaluation and review technique, it requires 3 estimates. The first one is most likely time. Most likely time. The time we would expect the task to take under normal circumstances. The time we would expect the task to take under normal circumstances. It is most likely time. We shall denote this by the letter small m. The second estimate is optimistic time. Optimistic time means the shortest time in which we could expect to complete the activity. The smallest time, the least time in which we could expect to complete the activity. We shall use the letter small a to denote this time, small a. The third one is pessimistic time. Pessimistic time means the worst possible time, allowing for all reasonable eventualities. The worst possible time, allowing for all reasonable eventualities. We shall denote this by small letter b. Small letter b. The expected durations are used to carry out a forward pass through a network using the same method as critical path method technique does. However, in this case, the calculated event dates are not the earliest possible dates, but the dates by which we expect to achieve those events. Here, PERT combines these 3 estimates we discussed: most likely time, optimistic time and pessimistic time. These 3 estimates to form a single expected duration. It is denoted by TE and it is calculated using the formula TE is equal to A plus 4M plus B divided by 6. Here A denotes optimistic time, M denotes most likely time, B denotes pessimistic time. By using the formula, we can calculate the expected duration TE by using the formula A plus 4M plus B divided by 6. The table provides additional activity duration estimate with new estimates for A and B, and the original activity duration estimate have been used as the most likely times M. Here in this table, we can see a set of activities A to H. Corresponding to each activity, 3 estimates are given. The middle one is the most likely duration. The left side is optimistic time and right side pessimistic time. By using these 3 estimates, we can calculate the expected duration for each activity. Here the PERT network is illustrated in the figure. It indicates that we expect the project to take 13.5 weeks. This does not indicate the earliest date by which we could complete the project, but the expected or most likely date. An advantage of this approach is that it places an emphasis on the uncertainty of the real world. Rather than being tempted to say the completion date for the project is so and so, we are led to say we expect to complete the project by that particular date. It also focuses attention on the uncertainty of the estimation of each activity duration. Requesting 3 estimates for each activity emphasizes the fact that we are not certain what will happen. We are forced to take into account the fact that estimates are approximate. The PERT event labeling convention adopted here indicates even number and target date along with the calculated values for expected time and standard deviation. A node has 4 cells to represent the values. In this diagram, we are representing the even number and the expected duration. The first node 1, 0. The second node is corresponding etc. up to last 6, 13.5. There 13.5 is the total number of weeks. We expect the project to take 13.5 weeks to complete. Project duration, that duration is represented in the node 6. The node number or the event number and the duration. Activity standard deviations. Activity standard deviation means it is a quantitative measure of the degree of uncertainty of an activity duration estimate. It may be obtained by calculating the standard deviation S of an activity time using the formula S equal to B minus A divided by 6, where A and B we already know. A is the optimistic time estimate and B is the pessimistic time estimate. By using the formula B minus A divided by 6, the standard activity deviation can be obtained. The activity standard deviation is proportional to the difference between the optimistic and pessimistic estimates and can be used as a ranking measure of the degree of uncertainty or the degree of risk of each activity. The standard deviation is proportional to the difference between the optimistic and pessimistic estimates, that is B minus A, and can be used as a ranking measure of the degree of uncertainty or risk for each activity. The activity expected durations and standard deviations for our previous example is shown in this table. The table consists of a set of activities A to H, optimistic estimate, most likely estimate, pessimistic estimate are similar to previous table. It consists of two additional columns. The first column is the expected duration and the second column is standard deviation. The expected duration is calculated by TE is equal to A plus 4M plus B divided by 6. Using the formula, it is calculated for each activity and values are tabulated. Then the standard deviation, last column, is calculated by using the formula S is equal to B minus A divided by 6. The values are obtained and tabulated. The PERT network with 3 target dates and calculated event standard deviations are shown on the network diagram shown in the current diagram. Suppose we must complete the project within 15 weeks at the outside. We expect it will take 13.5 weeks, but it could take more or less. In addition, suppose that activity C must be completed by week 10, as it is to be carried out by a member of staff who is scheduled to be working on another project, and that event 5 represents the delivery of intermediate products to the customer. It must take place by week 10. These 3 target dates are shown on this current diagram in this PERT network. The PERT technique uses the 3-step method for calculating the probability of meeting or missing a target date. Calculate the standard deviation of each project event. Calculate the Z value for each event that has a target date. Convert Z values to a probability. This 3-step method is used for calculating the probability of meeting or missing a target date. In this diagram, each event, the PERT event, labeling convention adopted here indicates the event number and its duration, target date, and standard deviation. The PERT event labeling convention used here indicates the event number and its target date along with the calculated values for the expected time and standard deviation. The standard deviation formula is based on the rationale that there are approximately 6 standard deviations between the extreme tails of many statistical distributions. We have seen that by requesting multi-valued activity duration estimates and calculating expected dates, PERT focuses attention on the uncertainty of forecasting. We can use the technique to calculate the standard deviation for each task and use this to rank them according to their degree of risk. Using this ranking, we can see the activity F is the one regarding which have greatest uncertainty, whereas activity C should, in principle, give us relatively little cause of concern. If we use the expected times and standard deviations for forward passes through the network, we can, for any event or activity completion, we can estimate the probability of meeting any set target. In particular, by setting target dates along the critical path, we can focus on those activities posing the greatest risk to the project's schedule. In this session, risk management, we have seen how to identify and manage the risk, how risk might affect the success of a project. Risk management is concerned with assessing and prioritizing risk, drawing up plans for addressing those risks before they become problems. This session also described techniques for estimating the effect of risk on the project activities, network and schedule. Many of the risks affecting software projects can be reduced by allocating more experienced staff to those activities that are affected. For the last series of 4 risk management sessions, we identify the factors putting a project at risk, categorized and prioritized actions for risk elimination or containment, and quantify the likely effects of risk on project timescales.